Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the road toward a cashless society is moving a lot quicker than we thought. It seems that central banks all over the world, including governments, are becoming desperate because they know that the fiat currency game is over. Over 98% of world's central banks are preparing to unleash the global cashless society. And I believe it was the CEO of Bank of America, don't quote me on that, I saw a short snippet of that gentleman saying, this is what we want. We want to get rid of cash. And I'm sure you've heard, as I have through other YouTube channels, that there are people that are currently being put in jail just for asking to take money out of their own bank account. This is money that they've earned, ladies and gentlemen, supposedly money that belongs to them. Remember what Ms. Lynette Zhang says. I always like to quote this because she's 100% right. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And that's to include even the fiat currency that they make us use today. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. So you have to have some in the house. In my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor, and the reason is because let's say that we have a huge financial collapse. The dollar will be king for a little bit until people finally wake up and say, wait a minute, this has zero value. There's nothing that I can do with this. There is not much time left before all of your paper and coin cash become obsolete, followed by its replacement with digital cash. This is their dream. It's what they've been wanting to do for a very long time. In a new report, the WEF states that 98% of the world's central banks have agreed to implement the globalist long-awaited fantasy of a completely cashless world that they themselves control, of course. And this is the goal, because when we go digital, they will have all of the control over what you and I can do with our money, if you want to call it our money at that point. The Federal Reserve here in the United States, which is not really federal, but rather controlled by a cabal of elite billionaire bankers, is fully on board with that scheme. All it is waiting for is a black swan triggering event, for example, the collapse of the stock market, to make the switch. Remember what they say, don't ever let a good crisis go to waste. Will the globalists win, however? In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, and I haven't read this part, I think that in the beginning they will think that they're winning, but in the end, good will prevail over bad. And let me tell you, these people that print money, that make their own gold and silver, but do it in the form of paper, they will be the ones one day that will throw their gold and silver onto the streets. Because what they have done is they have manipulated God's money and made it their money. And that's not going to last. It never has. And in this case, it will not either. And in the report that the WEF put out, it states that centralized CBDCs will soon be ready to facilitate a transition into the globalist version of a new world order, which simply builds upon the tyranny of the existing one. And again, they claim that over 98% of the world's central banks are experimenting, piloting, or deploying CBDCs to determine how to modernize the capabilities and improve access to central bank money, the report says. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not why they're doing this. They're doing this because it is the best way that they can use to control your movement, to control the things that you do. Think about it. If they have control over your money, when can you put gas in your car? Whenever they tell you. When can you buy meat? Whenever they tell you. When can you go outside this city limit? Whenever they allow you to pump gas outside of this city limit. Oh, but wait a minute. Let's say that we are all on electric vehicles. Same thing. Whenever they allow you to use your credits to recharge outside of that city limit. And besides a financial collapse or a stock market collapse, they say that another likely black swan that could end up facilitating the transition is the collapse of the petrodollar, which is right now being replaced by other currencies by members of the BRICS nations. Once the petrodollar goes away, the system will be ready for the final transition into a globalist fever dream of tyranny and authoritarianism, and that's exactly where they're taking it. Why is this so important? The reason that this particular article is so important, because we've all heard this before, is because it is now being touted on mainstream media. And most of the people get their news from mainstream media, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the age of social media, but most people still get their news from mainstream media. I'm talking about the people that are still somewhat ignorant as to how the world works. Not trying to be critical of anyone, but you know what I mean. And this gentleman here being interviewed says that this collapse has already been pre-designed. Nothing happens by happenstance. And listen to this, because this is what I've said often, that it will happen all at once. He says that the only question is whether it will continue to unfold gradually, like it has been, or if it will take place suddenly in the wake of a catastrophic cyber attack or some other black swan event. WEF founder and director Mr. Schwab is on record predicting a devastating cyber attack that will shut down all or nearly all communications, transportation, and financial transactions for an extended period. And so has the CIA, FBI director, and Homeland Security director as well. So he's not the only one saying this. I'm not sure if these other directors, CIA, Homeland, DHS, if they're parroting what he's saying, but they've been saying the same thing as well, ladies and gentlemen. So get prepared and stay prepared. Perhaps the clearest indication we have that the globalists have been planning the dollar's demise for many years came from Dr. Pippa back in March 2022 while addressing the World Government's Summit. I'll say this boldly, he says. We're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new one, the new accounting, is what we call blockchain. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. It means digital. It means having an almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. Wow, I wonder why they can't use that blockchain technology that he was talking about here a couple of years back to, I don't know, keep track of voting maybe? But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Malcolm said this while most of the world was still dealing with the health crisis, psychological operations, they say, which continues to play a pivotal role in the planned destruction of the U.S. economy. And this will be the next 9/11. I have to agree with it because it's going to be devastating. When the dollar loses its value, or the petrodollar, or whatever it is, it stops being the world reserve currency, meaning not by name, but that people and other countries around the world stop accepting it, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a lot of death, unfortunately. Digital cash is not cash at all, Holman warns. It's not only digital, but programmable. This is what people need to understand. This is what we need to teach our children, that it is not only digital, but programmable, meaning that they have full control on how you use it. Meaning someone outside of your control will have the ability to turn it on and turn it off. So when they tell you to shut your mouth, you better shut your mouth if you want to be able to use your digital cash, or program it in such a way that it makes applicable only at certain stores for certain goods and services and not others. Oh, you want to buy some ammunition? Sorry, you can't do it. Oh, you want to buy some red meat? Sorry, you already bought enough for this month. We have to make sure that we give other people the chance to buy red meat. Why? Because we've decimated all the ranches. And there's only so much to go around. You know where I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen. All of this, for the longest time, has been planned. And if you're not getting prepared, well, you're going to suffer just like everyone else that's not heeding the warning as well. Having said this, I hope that you got something out of this. I will leave the link to this article on a pinned comment so you can go check it out. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.